Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the latest edition of the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar Podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Elyachar, Chief Content Producer and Writer of JakesTake.com, a pop culture entertainment news website. If you're watching us on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up and please subscribe. If you're listening to any of our audio platforms, please give us a 5-star rating, download this episode and more episodes. I'm thrilled to welcome back this incredible human for his third time on the podcast. He is the founder of the Underground Music Collective, which is celebrating its 10th anniversary this year. He's also the founder of UMC Academy, and he's also the host of Clean Spin. Give it up to my friend, Gerard Longo, and welcome back.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me. Number 3, third all-time appearance. So very excited to be back. Not just once, not just twice, but 3 times, and appreciate the opportunity once again, Jake.
Awesome, Gerard. It's so good to see you. I'm so proud of all the work you've done over the past couple of years on social media and how big the Underground Music Collective has grown.
Yeah, it's a whirlwind for sure. And definitely, 2024 was a benchmark year in a lot of ways for us. I had the chance to get out on the speaking circuit. I decided to finally, take the leap and, commit to writing a book, which we're going to talk about. And a lot of great stuff's happened, and I'm really proud of the journey so far. But, of course, as we know, the journey's never over. The work's never finished. So we keep going here in 2025.
Absolutely. Here for that. So it has been a year and a half since we last spoke. So how have you grown as an entrepreneur since the last time we both chatted?
How haven't I grown as an entrepreneur? I think, I think over the past year and a half, it's been a really important time for really figuring out exactly what UMC is and needs to be. Right. So there have been a lot of ideas I think we've tinkered with, over that time where, to determine the direction of Underground Music Collective. For those who don't know, we are a multimedia and educational platform serving the independent artists. We're based here in Nashville, Tennessee, and we have a few different pillars by which we do our work. Of course, content, which is to say the podcast, the Clean Spin, which started it all 11 plus years ago, going on 12. It'll be 12 in August. Underground Music Collective blog itself, which reviews, features artists. We put together some playlists every month. And that's just one pillar. We also do events. We're going to be kicking up our Nash Live event series here in Nashville pretty soon. Also working on some plans to get out of market again in 2025 as we did in 2024. There's a community that we're building, a membership community that you can join and tap in with creatives on our mastermind calls and in other ways as well. And really what I've leaned into individually is the educational piece, because what I've realized just over the course of my creative existence since launching the Clean Spin is that even though I'm not actively a musician, number one, I've been in this industry long enough to have seen some stuff. You're here long enough.
Same with me.
Yeah, you're here long enough and you really see some things and you start to think of, better ways forward. But number two, and I think even more importantly, is no matter what our creative discipline, like we're all building something from nothing. We're all building from zero, right? And so it's taken me 11 and a half, going on 12 years at this point to grow Underground Music Collective and everything, contained under that umbrella to where it is, right? And I want to help shorten that time for other artists, for other creatives, right? I want to take the lessons that I've learned and I want to impart those lessons onto others, so that their creative journeys can, I don't want to say be easier, because it's not an easy journey. And I don't ever want to put that forth as though that's the case. We all have those ups and downs. We're all going to face challenges, but I want to provide a roadmap, for the independent creative. So when they do face this challenge or that challenge, they can refer to somebody who's been there. Right. And so we do that through the UMC Academy, which is our one-on-one coaching program here at Underground Music Collective. We also have this thing that we're doing right now. We're right in the middle of our first ever brand camp from the UMC Academy, where we help artists define their brand vision. They get to work together in group. They get to work with me one-on-one. They're going to get a free copy of the book once it's out too. And the idea is that they have a clear vision that they can take forward with an actionable goal at the end of the brand camp. So it's a 6-week program that we're doing. And of course, going around speaking, I had a chance to attend a number of conferences last year from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, where I moved to Nashville from, up in Canada in the Toronto area, this amazing festival and seminar series called Gustapalooza, NOLA MusicCon in New Orleans, and I've got one coming up in March you might have heard of. I'm doing a workshop at South by Southwest next month as well. So it's
Good for you. Congratulations, Gerard.
Thanks. Yeah, it's very exciting and mind-blowing, to think that this little thing that started with a podcast, a USB mic, and a laptop in my childhood bedroom has led me to South by Southwest. Like it hasn't hit me yet. I don't think it's going to hit me till I'm there, but it's going to be great. And if you're at South by, definitely sign up for my workshop, building authentic connections as an independent artist. So getting out there, trying to just help make this journey make sense for people, trying to help creators organize their thoughts, come up with a plan of action, really define where they're trying to go from a place of who they are. And so that's the essence of the UMC Academy and the educational pillar of Underground Music Collective. And that's a lot of what I'm putting forth in this book that's coming out in a few weeks.
That's amazing. I'm so excited for you and so proud of all your endeavors. I want to go back to Brand Camp because the thing is, because this is something I'm very thrilled by. So for the people that were you looking for, and if you do Brand Camp 2, what are for that with UMC Academy? If you guys do another version of Brand Camp, and people are listening, what are you looking for in applicants to join this program?
So the artistpreneur, right? The artist who understands that while their art is certainly important, that they are also an entrepreneur, that they're also running a business, right? And I want somebody who, to come into the Brand Camp who already has that understanding that it's going to take work, that it's going to take an open mind toward opening up your creative process, toward understanding all the nuances that go into building a creative vision, a creative platform, right? And that is art as well as business. That's truly defining exactly who you are, so it shows up in everything you do. Whether it's Brand Camp, whether it's just one-on-one, standalone coaching, whatever it is, even in the seminars that I give, we always start with VMV, and VMV means values, mission, and vision. We start with values first. Now, a lot of companies might, go mission, vision, values. We start with values because that's your core. That's your North Star. That is the essence of who you are, right? And that is going to inform and define everything that comes after it, including your mission, which is what you've been put on earth to do, and your vision, which is what does that mission look like, sound like, feel like in the world, and how is the world left a better place? How is it bigger than you, right? And I think that's a very important thing that maybe we don't think of at the start of the creative journey. I mean, I didn't think of it really, at the start of my creative journey. I just needed an outlet, right? And I had in mind I wanted to do something that impacted people, but I didn't really know what that was, right? And I didn't really know how, so it's work that I've had to do myself, right? Is really define, okay, why am I doing this? What do I want to put out into the world? And how is that going to make the world better? And I think part of that also comes with understanding that being a good musician, being talented in any field isn't enough to get to where you want to go. If you really want to make a career out of this, right? There are so many talented individuals on the face of the earth. And when it comes to music, one of the conferences I went to last year, the Musikfest conference up in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, one of the keynote speakers said that by 2030, 1.3 billion people, with a B, billion people, will have the tools they need to make music. Now, will they all be on a level playing field as in terms of experience and talent and ability? No. Or even what those tools are? No. Some might be using, less intricate software, to produce music, whereas others might have the highest of the highest end, right? But the fact is, that number tells us that music creation is more accessible, is more possible for more people than it's ever been before, right? So what's going to make you stand out is exactly who you are, exactly what you bring to the table from your unique perspective. And so the point of Brand Camp is to really nail that down and then create some goals from that you can take forward through the rest of your year or through, the rest of the foreseeable future, right? It's to help you point your compass individually, as well as to tap you in with the rest of the community who's also enrolled in Brand Camp. We do group calls every week just to check in, see how things are going, see how people's experience is and what they're learning from the whole thing. In addition to our UMC community masterminds, which kind of widens it up to our greater community, right? So you have a chance to learn not only in a one-on-one sense and not only to go inward, but then to start to share and get feedback from the other people in the group. So it's pretty powerful to have that. And all the while we're building community, all the while we're building connections. I mean, we've got people in brand camp from the East Coast to the West Coast, from the Northeast to the Bay Area and in between. And it's really exciting to see those people come together. And one thing that it's taught me, and that going to these different locations for these events, these conferences has taught me, is that we're all having similar conversations, right? We all want to create. We all want to have that creation make an impact. And we, as creators, for the longest time in our industry, have felt this lack of control, this lack of power over our circumstances. So overall, what I want Brand Camp to do, what I want the UMC Academy to do, what I want Underground Music Collective to do is to be a platform to give creators the power back, to give them the resources, the tools, the knowledge, the understanding, the connections that they need in order to make a run at this themselves, in order to build something that it doesn't matter whether a gatekeeper says yay or nay, right? It doesn't matter if you get the approval of the traditional industry because we're building our own. And so that's definitely something that, again, going back to everything I've had a chance to see, experience, witness myself, hear stories from other people, particularly artists in the industry, like that's absolutely something that is important, is to control our creative fates, right? And we have more tools at our disposal to do that, to connect with people, to get our messages out there. And it's all a matter of how do we use them and what are we putting out there that's going to connect with people.
Awesome. And I think connection is extremely important, and we need to have that, especially because the thing is, you and I both seen, no matter if it's music or in podcasting, something can come in, the right ingredients come together, and boom. But as well, at the same time, a lot of people like us want to do build our legacies. Like people like, I know, like the legendary Desmond Child or Clive Davis. On the music side, for me, it's Regis Philbin and Barbara Walters, who have that long legacy. And for our generation, we have to start building it now.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And building it means also building around you too, because it can't just be you. You need a team. And that's something that is in the book. One of the 60 plus lessons I've learned over the past 11 and a half years is you need a team. And you need that team to all be rowing in the same direction, right? Like we all get to a certain point. It's fun in the beginning stages, when it was just me and the USB mic and the laptop in my childhood bedroom, like it was just me, right? And it's fun to dream and it's fun to think of all the things it can be. But over time, as you work on it and you work with different people, some work out, some don't, you realize the importance of having a solid team that shares those values, that's moving in a similar direction as you, right? That has a shared vision for what this all can be and understands their place in that vision, right? And I have to give a shout out to some folks that have come into the fold on that end. I have to give a shout out to Nathan Ramirez, who goes by Virtues. That's his artist name. He's been handling a lot of the marketing stuff for us as 2024 has come into 2025. Brandon, also with the Fortune Network, he's been helping us on the educational end, brainstorm ideas and start to get some folks in. And like, these are the guys that I've been looking for more than a decade, right? Like these are the guys, like they come in, they get it, they understand exactly where they can contribute, and we're building it together, and that's a beautiful thing for me to see. Underground Music Collective is not just me, but it's as strong as the parts that make the whole, right? And there are other folks too, that have absolutely contributed to the vision over the years, that have come, in and out of the fold. Sometimes life takes us in different directions. I think of my original co-host in the Quinn Spin, Scotty Rock in particular. We're still great friends, and he'll still pop on the show once in a while. And without him, without all the people from that OG run, right? Like this wouldn't have the chance to be what it is now, right? And so you need a good community of people around you. You need a good team of people around you, because everybody's got something to contribute. Everybody's got something from their perspective, their experience, that is of value to the vision. And from there, it comes down to making it make sense for the vision. And does it make sense to be involved, as a unit here moving forward? And again, there are certain things that'll get in the way of that, like life, first and foremost, life takes people in different directions, and you know, you have to obviously understand and give grace for that, but also professional ambitions, right? You know, maybe somebody is really trying to focus on their project and doesn't have time to give to yours, but that doesn't mean that you can't still root for each other. That doesn't mean that you can't help each other where you can, you know. But all that said, you know, I really feel like over the past few months, like the right people have been coming in at the right time and have had something really meaningful to contribute here. And so that is definitely something, you know, that I think I struggled with delegating in particular for a long time, you know, like giving up, you know, the precious reins to my baby here. But I mean, once you do it, once you find the right people who are going in that same direction as you know, like you start to immediately see the benefits of that. And so it's an exciting time. It's an exciting time, you know, based on an important lesson.
And this lesson that has evolved is celebrating 10 years, my friend. 10 years the Underground Music Collective. Did you ever when you launched it back in 2015, did you ever think you would reach the 10th anniversary milestone? Because right now we're on season 6 on my podcast, and I never thought this podcast would last until we're right now.
Yeah, you know, it's wild to think of that, you know, that the idea for Underground Music Collective was conceived and announced to the public in 2015, right? And we did this a couple of years ago with the Quinn Spin, which launched in 2013. You know, we had the 10th anniversary, and it was a similar feeling of like, how do we make it 10 years, you know? And it's just like, you can't really see it in the beginning, right? Because you're just starting a thing, you're just trying it out, you're throwing it to the wall, you're seeing what sticks. Like, you can kind of imagine what it would be like, you know, in your, you know, pie in the sky vision of, oh, well, this could be the biggest thing ever. But, you know, the reality of those 10 years and the reality of, or, you know, in the Quinn Spin's case, it'll be 12 in August, you know, the reality of that time and everything that you learn over the course of that time and that process, like, that's really what gives it the color. And most of the time, I would say the vast majority of the time, if you've been doing anything that long, once you get to the 10, 11, 12 year mark, it never looks like you thought it would at the beginning, like getting to that point, right? But that doesn't mean it can't still be beautiful. That doesn't mean that it can't still take you somewhere great, if not better than you imagined, you know? And I feel really fortunate, you know, for the past decade plus, in the case of the Quinn Spin, to have created this thing all from an idea, right? And to have had the experiences I've had, to have been the places I've been and continue to go, to have met the people who have become among my best friends, the most important people in my life. None of that would have happened if it weren't for one August night in 2013, right? Where I just listened to my old college radio show and said, I'm doing this again. And then it wouldn't have continued if I didn't then, a couple of years later, while the show was in hiatus, resolve to keep going and figure out, okay, like, I like doing the podcast. I'm probably going to be doing it by myself going forward. What can I build around it? Which was a blog, which was Lehigh Valley Underground, right? Which then turned into Underground Music Collective when I moved here. You never really would have expected the journey to have taken the shape it has. I mean, frankly, you know, I didn't ever expect to move to Nashville when I launched it as Lehigh Valley Underground. You know, it was 2016. You know, 2015, when we, you know, announced, 2016, the first full day we were online with articles and reviews and stuff. And, you know, I was just committed to spotlighting the local community up there in Eastern Pennsylvania. You know, I was committed to just, you know, reviewing whatever original music came by, getting out to shows, meeting people. And then that area just needed something like that. And it started to really snowball. It started to really grow. You know, we started to get involved in local events. We started putting on our own events, partnering with local organizations, won a few local awards. We won 3 Lehigh Valley Music Awards in 2018, which was still a real, you know, I look back on that as a really fun day. And we've started to gain this momentum, and like, we quickly became, you know, a force in the community, you know, and we're still that, you know, in that community. Like, we can still go back there and put on events, and people will come to those, and people will be part of them. And it's such a beautiful thing, a beautiful homecoming every time, you know. And from that gave me the inspiration to see, okay, where else can we take this, you know? And at the time, you know, it's mid 2018, you know, and I needed a change personally. I was ready for change. And then I also wanted to go somewhere where the music industry infrastructure was. So it was between Nashville and New York, and it brought us here, And so November 26, 2018, whatever would fit my car and me, came on down to Nashville, and we've been here ever since. But now it's a beautiful thing too, where we're able to build those pipelines back out. The first pipeline we built back out was to Bethlehem, because that's home. And, we've had a chance to do some events there. Looking forward to doing more. Got to be a part of the Musikfest conference, the first ever that they did last year, up to Canada, down to New Orleans, out to Austin in March. Like, who knows where else, from being
Maybe
here
Kansas
in Nashville.
City?
Yeah, well, we can do Kansas City too. I'm down. I'm down. Let's make it happen. It's not that far away from Nashville. What is it? Only 9-hour drive?
9-hour drive, my friend. 9-hour drive, or 3 or 2, or like a quick plane ride.
Yeah, that's a cakewalk for me. I'm down. Let's make it happen, because it's that's the whole point, right? That was the whole point of coming to Nashville. That's why I didn't put Nashville in the name, because Underground Music Collective can be anywhere. We're based here, but we can build those pipelines out and connect people anywhere. And that is the vision. And it's been really inspiring to see that vision come to life. I think around the time I moved to Nashville is when I really started seeing what this could be. Yeah, I still didn't have any idea how I was going to take it there, right? And over the years, like, the path has kind of shown itself as I've experienced things and taken some knocks on the head and what have you. But I started to see this thing that could connect the dots. And I always wanted to take what I learned in Nashville and bring it back home to that community, right? Because that community was very important to me, is very important to me, so important to the foundation of this platform, right? And then you start to do that, and it's like, well, where else can we start to build these pipelines? You start making these connections in other markets. Of course, being in Nashville and being a music platform attracts people to you, because Nashville gives you that automatic credibility boost, right? To be quite honest about it. And so from there, it's all a matter of what do you do with it, and how do you reward that credibility that people are treating you with? How do you reward that trust and that faith people are putting in you? And I'd like to think we've done a pretty good job of that, over the years. And that's why these things keep happening. And that's why, we're able to not only find, but attract opportunities to grow this platform, to build these relationships, and to serve. It's all about service. It's all about, how can we help people navigate their creative journeys so that they can show up more completely and capably to them and support themselves from that, right? At the end of the day, that's what it comes down to, is how are we able to turn what we love to do into what we wake up and get to do every day. So it's been an incredible ride so far, and it's far from over. There's still a lot more we have to do. And I'm just excited to see what the future holds.
All right. So we got to talk about Quinn Spin entering year 12. Do you have some of the most as you see in year 12 with the podcast? I just saw you, like, the podcast has evolved over time, because I just saw a video before we got on of you having a video now uploaded to Spotify. So how has the Quinn Spin evolved over time?
I mean, it's taken on so many lives of its own over the years. It's, like I said, it literally started just with me and a USB mic and a laptop in my childhood bedroom. It was just an outlet. I needed some outlet from corporate America. I was kind of feeling a little lost in the shuffle in my own life. And that's in the book too. That actually is, toward the beginning of the book, because that's what started this whole journey. And like, I talk about this in the book, like a couple months before I started the show, like, I was on a cross-country road trip. At the time I was working in New York. My girlfriend at the time lived outside of Philly. So like, I never had time to myself, right? I was either going to New York or I was going to Philly. Never had time for Gerard, right? And on this cross-country road trip, all my thoughts had a chance to catch up to me. And I had several panic attacks. Like, I remember being in New Orleans for the first time, and like, I couldn't even eat. I was like, I was completely panicked. I didn't know why. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what was wrong with me. Thought I was dying, right? Like, I talk about this in the book. And I was able to chalk it up on the way back after the panic attacks had subsided. I started doing some free writing in the back seat when I wasn't the one driving. I needed some kind of creative outlet, right? I just needed something. when I got back to Jersey at the time, like I was going to start to figure out what that was. And of course, the rest of the summer goes by. I begin this, I restart the same crazy schedule, for another month or so. And then I have a weekend to myself. My girlfriend at the time had a baby shower or bridal shower. I forget which. It was a long time ago. Maybe I should have been more attentive to detail in that relationship, but that's besides the point. But like I had a weekend to myself, and I just started digging through old projects, and the college radio show was one of them, also called The Quinn Spin. I chose a pseudonym in college because just in case somebody said something on the air I didn't want to be on the hook for, I just, they won't know it's me, which was flawed logic, but regardless. And so, but I listened to those episodes, and I just loved the connection that we had with our small but loyal fan base. They'd give us stuff for the show every week. They'd be on AOL Instant Messenger, which was still a thing at the time, giving us instant feedback as we were live on the air. And I'm like, I'm doing this. And it was really just like, okay, step by step by step. Like in the book, I outline these initial steps of like, okay, what do I need next? I need a microphone. I need social media. I need somewhere to put the show, which was SoundCloud in the beginning. Like I didn't know where people put podcasts. I didn't know what I was doing. I just heard that it was a thing. And then from there, it's like, okay, you follow this process and you try things. Some work, most don't. You start to bring people into the fold. You start to get the right mix of folks. And those first couple of years of the show, I mean, it was so much fun. It was some of the most fun we ever had with this platform because like we were just a bunch of people that were all kind of trying to find our way through life. Me and Scotty and Elle and like Drunk Uncle Lewis, Big Daddy Del, like all the people that were part of the show in the beginning. Like we were, either students or like underemployed or whatever. Like we were all trying to find our way. Right. And I just, I have such reverence for those times because like we figured out a lot about ourselves and we figured out like, we all found our way, and for most of us, except for me, that way wasn't to really continue on this path in a full-time capacity. Right. But for me, it was a chance to really tinker with things, once, people's lives started going in separate directions. Like, I tried doing a solo show for a while. We did internet radio for a little while I still lived in Bethlehem. We moved here and then I started doing it in the interview series format. That's part of the show now. And that's the main driver of the show, really. And now it can be all of those things. And that's what I love about the Quinn Spin and why I haven't rebranded it to something more on brand like the Underground Cast is because it's the point of singularity from which all things UMC were created, right? Without the Quinn Spin, there's none of this. So, and I've thought about that and I've battled it. And like my better marketing mind is like, I should do something more on brand, especially as Gerard Longo, I'm getting on these stages. But there's just got to be that opportunity for me to just play in the sandbox and still throw things to the wall. Musicians have music. And although I intend to drop the mixtape one day, for now, I've got this. Like the Quinn Spin is it. That's my version of I just get to create for the sake of creating, right? And so it can be an interview with somebody on the stage in the room where I am right now. It can be an interview over Zoom if somebody's remote. It can be an OG family reunion over Zoom with Scotty and my buddy JD, who actually was part of the show in college, comes on those episodes now as well. It could be a solo episode, just like it was in Bethlehem, just like it was on episode 1 way back in the beginning before Scotty even came in. It could be all of those things. All of these things are the Quinn Spin. But the overarching theme is we're creatives and we are building something still from that point of singularity. And we want to take you on that creative journey with us. We want to inspire you. And we want to tell the stories of other inspiring creatives to give you a roadmap as a listener, as a viewer, as a creative yourself to light the path forward. And so that's always from episode 1. I listened back around the 10th anniversary of the show. I listened back to episode 1 and I pretty much said exactly that. And I was kind of blown away because I was really thinking about, that whole idea of I want to continue building a platform that supports the independent creative. And it turned out, listening to that episode, like that was the very core value of the platform, was this exists to tell the stories of those daring enough to create. And so it's kind of like the more things change, the more they stay the same. And I know I rambled a lot there, and the Quinn Spin in itself rambles. It's a long, rambling history that's taken a lot of detours. It's messy, just like us. And that's what it needs to be. That's what it's always going to be. And we're not rebranding it for that reason, because like it is messy. It's the story of us. It's where this all came from. And without it, life wouldn't be the same.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Here to that, because I was like thinking about when I started the podcast, and it's like Jake's Take. There's so many Jake's Take. There's one Jacob Elyachar. And that's why I still have Jake's Take up after all these years. And that's why I still have and that's why I never imagined when I started this podcast back in November 2019, and Brett Walgamont, who's a well-known reality TV commentator, took a chance on me. And here we are.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, is you never know where that path's going to lead you. You know, I could have never, again, like imagine meeting all the people, having all the experiences I've had, you know, both good, bad, and ugly. Well, not both. Good, bad, and ugly. You know, that's more than two things. And like it will take you through those peaks and valleys, you know. Just getting the opportunity, though, to do the things I've done, to see the places I've seen, to live in the city that I live, never would have happened without an idea, a USB mic, and a laptop. And, you know, that's one thing I definitely want to encourage everybody listening, watching, and something that definitely shows up in the book is just start the thing, because you don't need to have all the answers. It's never going to be perfect. So give up the perfect thing right away. Perfect doesn't exist. And the more we strive for perfection, the worse we're going to feel about ourselves, right? You're going to mess up. You're going to put out bad content. You're going to do all the things you shouldn't do, but it's all going to bring you toward the thing that you should do, toward creating something greater. You know, everything's an at bat, right? Like every single piece of content we put out, every single interview, every single episode, every single event, every single talk I go give, every single word, chapter in, you know, prompt in this book, right? It's all an at bat to put forth ideas, to create something, to create connection, and to build a better industry, right? And sometimes you're going to hit a home run. Sometimes you're going to strike out. Sometimes you'll walk. Sometimes you'll bunt, whatever baseball analogy, you know, whatever you want to tie that to in your life and your journey, right? The point is, you've got to step up to the plate, because if you don't step up to the plate, then you're on the bench not doing anything. And if you're not doing anything, it's never going to go where you want it to. You won't get to the Hall of Fame that way.
Absolutely. So we got to talk about your book. February 25th, you'll release your first book, 60 plus lessons from a creative journey, a handy guide for the budding entrepreneur. Why decide that now was the time to write a book and release it?
So that decision came over the summer. I was actually up in the Northeast getting ready for Musikfest, and I had been kicking around the idea for probably years. I had been just like, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to write a book. I'm going to write a book. I'm going to. And then one night I was at my sister's, you know, just kind of like, you know, because that's kind of where I camp out when I'm up there, when I'm up, you know, in the Northeast, my family's up there, and I'm just there. I'm just like, I'm just going to commit to this. And it was very, you know, it's funny that we're talking so much about the Quinn Spin, because it's very similar to how that started. It was just like, you know what am I waiting for? I'm always telling people to just start. I'm just going to start. I'm just going to and similar to how I just made all the things that I needed to launch the Quinn Spin, I made all the things I needed to launch a book. I created the cover. I created the description. I set up the Amazon publishing account, and I'm like, all right, we're doing this. We're committing to this. And I'm like, it was July 29th. And, you know, I knew that I was going to be tied up over the next month with Musikfest and what have you. So I'm like, okay, by the time I can meaningfully start working on this book, because I hadn't written a word yet, I'll have 6 months, you know, from pretty much mid to late August until, you know, I have to have the manuscript uploaded to Amazon. So I'm giving myself 6 months to write and publish a book. And I need to make this a manageable project. I need to make this a digestible project. So the next thing I did was I just started going and listing out, what have I learned? What have I learned over the past 11 years at that point? You know, just about 11 years, you know, since the Quinn Spin started at that point. And I ended up listing out 60 plus lessons, you know, that I've learned over the course of time. And I'm just like, okay, well, there's my title. 60 plus lessons from the creative journey, because originally I had it at 60, but then I added a couple more, and I'm like, okay, just in case I end up adding more, as long as I don't go over 69, like it's still 60 plus, and I just got to work on it, and it's funny too, because in the writing process of this, like as I'm writing, it's lesson anecdote. That's the format. And as I'm writing one anecdote based on the previous lesson, another lesson just kind of springs to mind that may or may not have been on my original list. And it was like, well, that obviously is the next one. Or maybe it wasn't in that spot on the original list, but I'm like, this is just kind of the natural flow of things. So like, once I started writing, like it was easy. And I had a feeling it would be, but it was easier even than I thought it would be, because it's just like, as you're recalling a certain experience along this journey, more experiences come flooding back, more memories start coming back to you. And it's like, oh yeah, you know what? That is, you'll even kind of start writing it in the manuscript, like, and another thing I learned was, and it's like, well, there's my next lesson. Boom. So it was a really easy thing to write, a really enjoyable journey. And like, it goes pretty deep. Like, I'm not here, and I'm never here. I want to definitely stress this. I'm never here to preach to you from the pulpit of, I have the secret to your 7-figure life, and my life is perfect. Here's my supermodel girlfriend that I paid to hang out with me. Here's me in Bali. I don't want to do any of that. Look. I look like a Geico caveman right now. Like, I'm a real person on a real journey, and I want to share that journey with you to hope that it helps you maneuver through yours, right? And so I get real. I talk about the panic attacks. I talk about having no idea what to do. I talk about the times we have fallen on our faces. I do, because you need to know it, because it's part of the journey. There's no such thing as perfection. There's a whole lot of imperfection as we go on this road, right? And so I want to bring that across, but also in a way that presents a resolution, that presents more lessons that you can apply to your journey, and in a way that's lighthearted and fun, and ultimately shows you what's possible. And so that's why this was the time. And I mean, I think also it just happened to line up, although I didn't plan it this way. It's never a bad idea to release the book a couple weeks before you're going to be leading a workshop at South by Southwest. So, I mean, that's just kind of an added bonus. But I think the turn toward education definitely flipped that switch for me, because I was only a few days out from the Musikfest conference, that night that I decided I was doing this. And I'm like, I think part of the thought too was, I kind of wish I had a book to point people to. And I'm like, well, now I do, because you best believe later that week when I did my talk, I had a pre-order link already ready to go at the end of my presentation. So I'm like, all right, no time like the present. Now I got a couple pre-orders. I'm like, now I really got to write the thing. Like, I can't just let this be something that like, oh, just kidding, nobody ordered it anyway, it doesn't matter. Like, now it's on. So it's happening. It's moving forward. And yeah, I can't wait for everybody to have a chance to check it out.
Awesome. So are you ready for your final questions?
I am.
All right. First question. Where can they buy the book? That's question number 1. Question number 2. Where they can learn more about the Underground Music Collective, and such as the Academy and Brand Camp. And finally, third, where can they find the Quinn Spin? And finally, where can they connect with you on social media?
Well, I think a lot of those questions all have similar answers. UMCNashville.com will take you everywhere you need to go to learn about all those things, including the book. I've had a sidebar ad up there for the book pretty much since I announced that the book was going to be a thing. You can also find it on Amazon, 60 plus lessons from the creative journey. And you can order it digital on your Kindle if you have a Kindle, or you can get the paperback version as well. That's available now for pre-order. It wasn't in the beginning just because Amazon makes you wait, a couple months. Like, you have to be just a couple months out before the paperback can be made available. But it's available now. We're only a few weeks out from release, so go get that now. You can also get the book at Gerard Longo 12 is my Instagram handle. It's one of the links in my bio. So you can find that there. You can also find out information about my South by Southwest workshop if you're going to be in town, if you're going to be in Austin next month. UMC Nashville at UMC Nashville on Instagram and YouTube. You can learn more about everything we're doing. That's where you can really tap in and see the daily updates, as well as umcnashville.com. And the Quinn Spin is on your streaming platforms, your Spotify's, your Apple Podcasts. It's on the Underground Music Collective YouTube channel as well, at Quinn Spin Official on Instagram, 2 N's and Quinn, 2 N's and Spin. And yeah, take the ride with us. We've had some really, really great guest conversations lately, and just excited to keep it all moving forward here in 2025.
Wonderful. So, guys, have you missed an episode of the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar podcast? Visit our channels on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Spreaker. Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar, JACOBELYACHAR. Now, are you on social media? Because I'm on social media too. Please subscribe to my social media channels on Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, and YouTube. Jacob Elyachar, JACOBELYACHAR. Want to find out, want to read and listen to my original conversations? Well, jakes-take.com is the best place to go. Jakes-take.com. Gerard, as always, thank you so much for dropping by. I'm so proud of all of you and your accomplishments, and I cannot wait to read the book. And maybe if you need anyone, I volunteer myself for trivia for Quinn Spin.
We got to get you on. Yeah, let's definitely talk about that offline. We are long overdue. Let's get you on the show.
Absolutely, guys. And guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, have a great one, everybody. Goodbye.